Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, good morning.
How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I
It's
am.
it's 8 a.m. here in San Francisco, so I don't usually wake up, but for Kayla, I will wake up early.
Oh, thank you, Tiffany. I totally understand because it's 10 a.m. in my world, and this is like as early as it gets for me. So I really appreciate your early morning today. And it's going to be fun because we are going to talk about some fun things that I think will really make a difference for anyone who tunes in. In case this is your first time coming across either Tiffany or myself, my name is Kayla Jetta. I am one half of Rise Leadership Circle. And so together with my mom, Lisa Limito, who's my business partner, we support soulful entrepreneurs to anchor into their worth and their wholeness. And then from that space, build their empire and create wealth as a result of being in our worth and our wholeness. And we've been hosting this conversation. Overall, it'll be 10 days long. I think we're on day 7, where we are interviewing incredible humans like Tiffany, where we're going behind the scenes and just asking her, like, how did you do it? Especially around the topic of money. Because I think that so often money can be viewed as taboo. It's kind of this secret thing, like it requires money to start a business, run a business, grow a business, and yet we don't always talk about like what was our own journeys like. And so there can be a lot of shame with it or confusion. And so we just want to have real conversations with people and just have them share kind of how it went. So, but I want to start by interviewing Tiffany. And so I'll just give you a few highlights that will make you be like, yeah, how can Tiffany be my friend? And then I'll let her add anything else. So Tiffany Yu is the CEO and founder of Diversibility, which is an award-winning social enterprise to amplify disabled voices. She also is the founder of the Awesome Foundation Disability Chapter, which is a monthly microgrant that has awarded $47,500 to 48 disability projects in 8 countries. And she's the host of the Tiffany Yu podcast. She serves on the San Francisco Mayor's Disability Council and she was the 2020 co-chair of the World Economic Forum Sustainable Development Impact Summit. And this all started because at the age of 9, Tiffany became disabled as a result of a car accident that also took the life of her father. And she started her career in investment banking at Goldman Sachs and also worked at Bloomberg and Sean Diddy Combs' Revolt Media and TV. She is a 2-time TEDx speaker and spoke on 5 sessions at the World Economic Forum annual meeting in Davos. She has been featured in Marie Claire, The Guardian, and Forbes. And so now, if you don't already feel like, how can Tiffany become my friend? Tiffany, is there anything else that you want people to know about who you are and what you're up to in the world?
Yes. Well, first I want to say, clearly I'm not doing that much. But second, I also want to say, one of the things that has become really important for me is making spaces for play, fun, and joy, and being ridiculous and being goofy. So I love that you shared the highlight reel, but I also want to let all of the viewers of this know that, making space for that inner child to just go run around and play and explore is also something that's really important to me.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate getting to have the humanness behind the highlight reel. Yeah. Okay, so let's just jump in and we're just going to have a fun conversation and we'll go wherever we go. But how old were you when you made the transition from, okay, I'm working in corporate and I have a solid paycheck, to now I'm really going to count on myself to generate this?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I shared this on LinkedIn a couple of months ago. So 4 years ago, I got fired. And honestly, I think it's not something that we talk about enough. And there's so much shame surrounding it, right? Because at least for me, up until that point, I had always defined my sense of worth by my job title. So, you're reading it, the Goldmans, the Bloomberg, working for P. Diddy. And then I ended up working in a sales job for a really small real estate startup. And I've never been more stressed in my life, but I was like trying to figure out how to make it work. And interestingly enough, I got fired March 3rd, 2017. And on that day, I went in and told my therapist, and then I walked out of there and I said, I am going to try out this side project that I've been working on for years. I started Diversibility in 2009. I'm going to, I'm going to do this as my in-between thing until I find my next job. And now it's been 4 years later, and here we are. And I
Wow.
also want to highlight, Caitlin, I don't know if you'll mention this, but I was one of the RISE grant winners, I think at the last summit in October. And so my relationship with money, and I love that this is the theme of the series, it's still changing and evolving, right? Our business had been hit by the pandemic. The not only attending the summit, but also receiving that grant were just so instrumental for me getting to know Kayla in terms of me starting to make those shifts by saying, and I think Kayla, you say this all the time, that money is just energy, right? And whether or not we attribute value to it, whatever value we attribute to it really influences our relationship with it going forward. So
Thank you. And I really appreciate you sharing that, because I do talk to a lot of people who they're like, I started building six figures, but my expenses were going up. And I realized that the patterns I had with money were really similar. And so it's helpful to know that our journey with money can be ever evolving. And it's not like all of a sudden six figures is this like magic number where like suddenly you never think about money again. And I think that's why it's important that we just peel back the curtain a little and let people know that you're not alone. Like someone else was probably having an experience similar to you, and it's okay to be on the journey and to be growing and be supported.
yeah. And I'll also say there are so many things. I mean, Kayla, when you've reached out and you're like, do you want to do this live? There are so many things that I learned from that October summit that I still talk about, right? Like, one of the ones is how like our limiting beliefs are like a moving goalpost, right? So we're always going to have limiting beliefs. And I had always seen it as like stagnant, right? My limiting belief was around money, but it wasn't really around the money. It was like, what was the underlying belief there? And then it's like, well, there's always going to be some limiting belief. It's just going to change over time.
Yes, it is so true. Thank you for sharing that. We mentioned the grant, so I just want to talk about that really quick. So, part of why we're doing this series is number one, because we want people to see that wherever you're at with your journey of money, there have been people who are there or who have been there and are creating really amazing things. And so, we don't want money to be the thing that gets in the way of anybody living their purpose and doing the work that they are on this earth to do. And also because Lisa and I really do want to create support opportunities to support with the money specifically. And so twice a year, we give what we call the Rise Up Ripple Out Grant, and we just give away $10,000. It's truly no strings attached money that whoever wins can use it any way that they want. Like, I don't know exactly how Tiffany used hers, but I remember, Tiffany, that you said, like, I haven't paid myself. Like I'm kind of and I remember saying I hope that you pay yourself. Like I hope that this money is just a paycheck for you. And I trust that you use it however you're meant to, but that's the beauty of it, is like this money gets to be used in whatever way feels like the best fit. That maybe it's investing in your business with hiring a team. Maybe it's that you've been working, you haven't paid yourself and you get to do that. Maybe there is some products that you've been wanting to invest in. And so it's fun, and you can do that. The link is in the caption of this video, and so you can go ahead and apply. Applications end this Friday, the April 16th. So Tiffany, anything that you want to say to someone who's like, should I apply for that? Would that be beneficial for me?
I will say that I'm just the biggest fan of you, of you and Lisa. So that's number one. But number two is before I had applied to the grant, I was unfamiliar with your work and the summit. And I will say there are three main reasons to apply, because the best things come in three. So number one is it is totally okay to ask for help. Really do some internal reflection to say, can $2,000 really help propel what I'm building forward? Can it help? So I used part of the grant to hire it's called an executive wrangler from who was one of the sponsors or
Yeah.
partners of the summit. I hired one of them to help me clean up my inbox because I had over 30,000 unread messages. And, it's like your apartment, your inbox. I tried not to let it get to my head, but every single time I opened it up, I was like overwhelmed. So yeah, the first is it's okay to ask for help and really do that reflection to say, what can I use $2,000 for? Is it to finally compensate myself because I've been doing this for over 10 years and it's so meaningful, but it can be meaningful and you can get paid. The second is I just love the way that you and Lisa set up this application form, because there is a big part of it that is introspective. So even if you don't receive the grant, you're still doing like a little bit of a temperature check around where you are, how you feel about how things are going. And just going through that process is really helpful. And then the third is getting access to the summit. I have so many wonderful memories from October. And then I just remember getting plugged into the Facebook group as well and joining all of those mini sessions that you and Lisa were hosting as well. So you get much more, oftentimes like if we're viewing money as energy, the grant is awesome, but I think what means more than the grant is the access to the community that you get part of, the access to the resources, whether it's the hot seat coaching, whether it's just the frameworks of how to think through things. And then really just spending that time to sit with yourself, which, over the past year, I think many of us have had a lot of time to, but never enough time to really get to know yourself better.
I so appreciate you saying that and bringing in We Rise. So the summit that Tiffany's talking about is a 2-day event coming up at the end of the month. It's April 30th and May 1st. It's called We Rise. And it's at this event that we announce the 5 winners of the grant. So we give away 5 $2,000 grants. But we give anyone who applies for the grant, just as long as you apply, you can have access to the retreat for just $1. One single dollar is all it takes to have access. And the reason that we do that is because we get that when we have hundreds of people apply for the grant, we want to make a difference for everyone. And we do so much work on limiting beliefs and money blocks and what's going on behind that many people can walk away from that. Like, I know how to make much more than $2,000 now that I attended this. So that's why we really want to open that up. And like Tiffany was saying, the community is so powerful. So thank you, Tiffany. What other ways, Tiffany, have you invested either in yourself personally or in your business that you think has really been a game changer, just by saying like, I'm worthy of investing in this kind of support for myself? Team or
yeah. So one of the things, so I run a disability advocacy organization, and you shared a little bit of my personal story. There is trauma and grief in there that I'm very, I often say I like wear as a badge of honor, but it's still things that I need to work through. So where I have invested, or one of the things that I have learned over the past couple of years, is to really invest in my professional mental health support system. So I've got a therapist. Literally the past couple of days I've been going around being like, I am so grateful that I have a therapist. And I know that there are financial barriers and, insurance system embedded within that. So I feel really grateful for that. I also have a coach. I remember when I was starting my relationship with my coach, it was actually right around the time that I met Kayla and Lisa. And I got matched with a coach through a different program that I'm part of. So I was like, I just met these 2 women. Can my coach be like them, or can they be my coaches? And I know Kayla and I have had a couple touch points over the past 6 months since then, but she's been really helpful. I never really understood why I needed a coach. I'm just being like totally transparent. But it's, we just had our 12th session together. We've been doing like check-ins every couple of sessions. And we talked about how, for me, and I think this is something that maybe we need to kind of flip the script a little bit, is that I always felt like working with a coach, I'd have transformation after one session. And what I appreciate after sticking with my coach for 6 months, and now we just renewed for another 6 months, is that transformation happens over time. And you actually, if I look back at Tiffany in October, Tiffany who went to We Rise in October, I was so stressed, emotionally not in a great place, didn't have my support systems in place, had made a couple team hires who weren't the best fit, to now where I'm like, my team is awesome. I'm so grateful for all these support systems. So yeah, a little bit more. I wanted to provide a little bit more color
I appreciate that.
But yeah, it's the professional support system. I also think hiring executive wranglers, not an ad, just hiring some additional support to handle some of the cobwebs that had been building up. My cobwebs were my overflowing email inbox. By the way, I see the sun starting to shine through here in San Francisco, and it looks very angelic. So I'm just
It
gonna.
totally does, like very goddess-esque. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for just showing that there's many different avenues, that sometimes it's support as us as the human, sometimes it's us as the human business owner, sometimes it's that we get to bring on a team and support within our business. And there's a lot of different ways that it can look like. And really what we want people to see is that we're worthy of having whatever support we're most called to. I think that there can often be this myth that we're just meant to do it alone. And it's like that if it's to be, it's up to me, which is amazing that we can be responsible and empowered, and we don't have to lone wolf it. So has there been any shifts that happen for you by investing in this team of support that you just mentioned, that you've noticed that might not have happened if you were trying to lone wolf it?
Yeah. So I will share one other realization that I've had, which is I went into these sessions with my coach being like, okay, we're going to up level diversibility. And Kayla, you and I have chatted about, I feel like diversibility and Tiffany are kind of doing this dance together. And so when I did this check-in with my coach, I was like, I think I was looking for more like tactical support or like processes to put in place. And my coach was like, Tiffany, you already know how to do all of those things, right? That's actually where my strength is, right? Is in this like figuring stuff out and figuring out like, okay, here are all the steps. And she's like, what I've noticed where you want to spend most of your time is really around shifting your own mindset and your own level of confidence that what you've created is a real thing, right? I spent so many years just sitting in imposter syndrome, and again, comes in waves. And then also my relationship with money. So biggest shifts I think that have happened since investing in myself are, I feel like I just have a lot more confidence in what I'm building. I think for a long time, and I think the grant helped with this too, it didn't feel like a real thing. For those who may just be listening to the audio, I'm an Asian woman, and within my family context, like social good work is not working in investment banking, right? So I had done all of these roles that kind of fit what like Mama Yu would be proud of. But now I was doing something so meaningful and so tied to my identity that she was like, when are you going to go back into banking? And at the same time, I was like, this is, I think, and Kayla, you actually said this to me, and you said something and you were like, Tiffany, how much energy are you spending like trying to diminish the success that you and diversibility have had? And that really struck a chord with me because I was like, oh, it's just like something I do in my spare time, or like, oh, this is just a passion project. And then we started bringing in like 5-figure checks, and then I'm like, oh, this isn't a real thing. And it's kind of like, Tiffany, like lean into that. I mean, I actually think that's one of the many things that I've taken away from our conversations, Kayla, is, lean into the fact that there is a market for what I've created, right? There is a financial market out there. So yeah, I mean, I think the biggest shifts for me are, I mean, there's so many shifts, it's hard, but one, it was, and part of this is like coming from learning from you and also learning from my coach and learning from investing in myself. But the other thing, wow, there's so many things that are like,
that's okay. I love it. Keep going.
What happened in October was the first time I had intentionally, well, because I'd also applied to the grant, so then we also got access to the We Rise Summit. I had never spent 2 days just sitting and writing, hear what my limiting beliefs are, spending that time. Mm-hmm. And again, I had mentioned earlier, my strengths are do. So I was so caught up in doing all the things, and that was great, but I wasn't nourishing myself. And this may be a little bit different from your viewers of this live, but I had been so caught in what I call like a care mindset And there's something in my world called advocacy burnout, where we're always serving other people that we never fill our own cups. So I think that the biggest shift for me, both from, the therapy and the coaching and getting to know Kayla and Lisa, is really understanding and noticing when I need to create intentional time for myself. The other thing that I've learned is creating stronger boundaries around my time. Brene Brown has a great video, and she says that the most compassionate people also have the strongest boundaries. And because I was serving my work is to serve the disability community. But again, I think maybe I learned this from you, Kayla, or maybe I learned it from social media, is that when you win, Kayla, or when I win, it is a win for everyone who looks like us that we feel like we represent. And so by spending so much energy being like, oh, I'm not going to share that award that we just won, or I'm not going to share this piece of press, I'm doing a disservice to a community that I'm trying to amplify, right? Our mission is to amplify disabled voices. And I'm dimming my own light. And I remember one of the last conversations you and I had, Caleb, was really digging into, why am I afraid of my own success? Like, what are the limiting beliefs or the messages that I received as a kid that told me that I didn't deserve that? Or what are the internalized beliefs that I hold? So I'm still in the process of doing a lot of unlearning. Very long-winded answer to share. I really do think there have been some incredible shifts over the past 6 months. And I feel like your viewers are catching it live, because I really haven't had that time to really reflect over what the past 6 months have looked like for me. But I feel amazing. And I feel
I just love, this was so perfect. I really enjoy that this could be a time for you to just reflect. And in real time, that was our intention, is just like unfiltered, just what happens when we give ourselves this space to think about and look behind the curtain at how it's been for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Tiffany. And I really want to acknowledge you for being a light in the world and just trusting that that's who you are. That's the work that you're here to be, is to honor your own strengths and your gifts and to unapologetically share them, even though sometimes it takes a reminder to know that you actually get to be unapologetic and share that. And it really matters, Tiffany. Like, you being you in the world really matters. And it's such an honor. So thank you. And everyone else, please go over. I tagged Tiffany in this, so you can go over and follow her and get connected in all the places and support the initiatives that she's running. And we would love for you to apply for the Rise Up Ripple Out grant. I linked it in there. This is your chance to just say, I'm worthy of receiving. My work matters, and I want to receive for it. Amazing. Tiffany, anything else that you want to add?
I just want to say thank you to Kayla and Lisa for the community that you've created, all the work that you do. It really does make a difference. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is why you do the work that you do, is you really see the impact that it has on people. So even, please apply for the grant. You're worth it. One of the things, if you're feeling a little bit of imposter syndrome, I have this strategy where I'm like, well, why don't you just apply and let them decide if you're, it's almost like we count ourselves out of so many opportunities, when really it's, well, why don't we just put ourselves out there? This is actually how you build resilience. You put yourself out there for what we call like the mini failures. This isn't going to be a fail. I don't know why I mentioned that word, but for like the mini rejections, right?
Yeah.
But you still gain so much out of just applying. But then you're also, throwing your imposter syndrome out the door and saying, I'm going to let Kayla, Lisa, the Rise team decide, who gets the $2,000. And if I don't get the $2,000, I'm going to figure out a way to get it so that I can really invest in myself. But thank you so much for having me on. This was so fun.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. This was so fun. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. And we hope that you apply for the grant. I'll talk to you soon, Tiffany.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.